Broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, this is 5x3 Radio, where strength is for everyone. I'm your host, Emily Sokolinski, owner of 5x3 Training, a strength and conditioning gym in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Rebecca Fishburne, founder of Cornerstone Strength Maryland. Each week, Rebecca and I will discuss the ins and outs of strength training, why there is a no one-size-fits-all approach, and why strength is so important in our daily lives. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now, on with the show. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to 5x3 Radio. Rebecca and I are here on this lovely Wednesday afternoon. It actually is pretty gorgeous. I was hot earlier, and now I'm cold. And I have you can't see, but Rebecca and I both have our hoodies on.
Yeah, put mine back up.
And our hoodies are up. And I told her that we would do a visual video, put out the video, and she said no. So sorry, you still can't get to see us. You just have to listen to us talk.
But we're both in gray hoodies.
Exactly. I've got my 5x3 old school hoodie on.
I got a soccer hoodie.
So you can tell, what we're into. Jack wears this one all the time. Diego gave his sweatshirt to Jack, and this is what he lives in from like November until I guess probably April when,
my hoodie has a very deep hood.
Your hoodie does have a good hood.
Yeah, it's very deep. It hangs out over. Yeah. So
I do not.
That's why I like this hoodie.
It's a nice one. It is I like that hoodie.
You can hide inside it.
Hoodies are fantastic. So last time we had Mona on the show, and that was fantastic. She was so fun to listen to.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, Diego said it was a good podcast. It was a good podcast. I'm glad that she said yes to talk about her experience with strength training starting at the age of 85. Right, remind you, because the podcast we want to do today kind of goes along with Mona and the fact that she was an older lifter, the mother of one of my members, and it was her daughter who was trying to encourage her to try strength training, to give it a try. Now, she wasn't pushing her mom to do this, but there definitely was kind of elements of, she would say to me, I'm starting to talk to my mom more and more about what I do. And her mother was really not quite aware of what her daughter was doing at the gym. I remember she said to Liz one time when Liz told her, like, oh yeah, I squatted this much weight. And she was like, why would you want to squat that much weight? That's ridiculous. Who wants to do that? So it was that kind of thought process of big weights, heavy weights. That's not for me. I'll never do that. I'm never going to do this. So that's for you, not for me. And Liz never pushed her. She didn't push her. It just happened to be that she came down to visit her daughter that one time, came to the gym, loved what she saw, did a little bit of work with me. And it was just kind of for her, a switch just flipped in her brain. Right. But it still took her a little bit of time to kind of start with me. So Rebecca and I thought we would discuss how do you get someone to decide to do a strength training program? And this could be any age, but primarily anyone who's in the, I guess, 50, 55, 60, kind of, that bracket, that age bracket, right?
Masters.
Right. The masters, right?
Masters in your life.
Getting older, noticing that things are kind of creaking a little bit more, maybe having a difficult time going up and down stairs, maybe, having a hard time, getting out of bed, let's say in the morning. And it's a tricky subject. This is a interesting subject to talk about because it can be very difficult to get somebody to try something that they don't think is really for them. So we thought we would kind of try to broach the subject the best way we can. And this might be a part 1, part 2, if we don't, get through all of it today that we want to talk about. But I have older lifters. Rebecca has older lifters. Rebecca, talk a little bit about yours, maybe a couple that you have of one. How did they come to you? Did they come via a friend? Did they come via an adult child? Was it they've done this before? Because we both have stories of different people and how and why they came to be at training with us.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of times by the time a person comes to me, they've already gone through this process that we're sort of, talking about here, the process of trying to decide if strength training is something that they want to do, and
Right.
particularly barbell training. And so a lot of that mental work has happened beforehand. Um, for a lot of people, it's, something like you're talking about. Maybe they've just noticed that as they're getting older, they're losing strength. They're feeling like they're less able to do what they want to be able to do. They are, maybe they've got grandkids. They want to be able to lift them, to get up and down off the floor while
Right.
holding a grandkid. There can be any number of things like that in a person's life that make them think that they want to get stronger or maintain strength. Or maybe it's a diagnosis. Usually the people that I see, it's something along the lines of osteopenia or
Right.
osteoporosis, and they realize they need to be doing some resistance training in order to maintain bone density or build bone density. So those are like kind of two of the bigger reasons. And usually people, by the time they come to me listed as a starting strength coach, have sort of gotten their minds wrapped around the idea that the type of strength training that they want to learn,
Mhm.
that they want to do, is barbell training, and they want to, follow a starting strength type program. But actually, one of my current clients started, he's in his 70s, and he started because his son was encouraging him. I think he's in his 70s, maybe late 60s. His son was encouraging him, and his son sent me like the nicest email,
Mm.
a string of thank yous, 5 in a row. And this is so great. I didn't expect my dad to really latch on to this as firmly as he did. Now we're having conversations and sharing things that I never thought would be possible. He's really gone down this rabbit hole. He sends me articles. He sends me, charts, how strong are you? Like all these sorts of things. So they're having these really fun conversations. But the wife of my client, the mother of the son that had emailed me and then wanted to chat, has not sort of jumped on board with this.
Right.
And so they were kind of talking about, brainstorming, how could we get her to sort of come around. So exactly this conversation that you're talking about, somebody who sees examples of people in their life doing barbell training, sees the benefits, sees how much that person's life has improved, maybe recognizes that they should be doing some strength training, but not sure about barbells.
Hmm.
And also like they don't have the equipment, right? So
Hmm.
this is somebody in Virginia. I'm in Maryland. I don't have my own gym. They're not coming to me on a regular basis. They're trying to, make do with what they have. And like a lot of these exercises, the big four, you can adapt and do with dumbbells, with lighter weights. And so that's I think a place too where people who are on board with barbells and starting strength need to be able to demonstrate a little flexibility in their own thinking
Yes.
and be like, okay, the bigger picture is you need to be doing a weighted squat type movement. Lots of reasons why a barbell is great for that. But if you're doing it with dumbbells, that's okay.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
yeah. And then I think the other thing too is just trying to help the individual that's considering it think about what their why is. So think about things like how, point out to them how their life might be different, better, things they want to do that strength would help them with. So yeah, kind of those things.
Yeah. I want to come back to what you're talking about in regards to being flexible
Mm,
with your training. So the reason I wanted to broach the subject with Rebecca was I was on Facebook looking around, and I saw a question that someone posed on the Starting Strength Facebook page. This is where a bunch of people basically gonna either ask questions about programming or have questions about their lifts, and they'll post a video of themselves lifting, and they'll get feedback from either the coaches on that page or other lifters. And this one person posed a question about how do I get my mother interested in doing this? And she's in her late 50s, and she's not really doing anything right now, but threw her shoulder out, doing some housework, and I really want to help her. I know this would be good for her. but she's resistant to it. So I asked the question of, well, how resistant is she? And is this something you've been talking about for a while? And the comment was, no, I mean, it's not really an ongoing discussion. It's something I brought up, but there's the issue of, I think, doesn't want to hurt herself. And how hard does the person want to work? And that's the thing. I think there's a mental block when it comes to beginning a strength program, because when you say the word barbell program, or you show starting strength, the person may get in their head of, I can't do that. There's no way I'm going to be able to pick up that weight. And they don't have the reality of, we don't start at that weight. We start where you are, and we start with what you have. And I think that's the biggest thing, is like also having a coach who understands how to work with individuals who may be reluctant to try a program, who may be reluctant to move because they're afraid of moving. They don't know how to move properly, and they don't want to embarrass themselves. And I think a lot of people have, might have a lot of mixed emotions, not that they're resistant because I'm not doing that, but also it's more like, I just don't know if I can. So I'd rather not try for fear of, making a fool of myself, or and not being able to actually do it. And, there's no judgment with coaches. I mean, people have to learn how to move. That's the whole process, even of getting stronger, is learning the movements. And when you have someone who takes you through those movements, step by step, as I think, Rebecca and I do, and other coaches that I know who really work well with their clients, there is an approach, there's a model. And that model, that barbell model that we use, we can use with a dumbbell. We can use with a kettlebell. The deadlift, model, we can use with a kettlebell, with dumbbells. I mean, as Rebecca said, having flexibility. And that's a problem I think a lot of some coaches don't have, is that flexibility. You don't have to start with a barbell. You don't have a barbell? It's fine. You have a couple dumbbells? Great. We can really start you where you are, getting you invested in the work. And that's what it is. It's like, if you can get that person in the door, get them in that first session with you, show them that they are capable of doing this, and let them, and have them leave thinking like, wow, I just, spent an hour and I don't feel like I did too much, but I also feel really good. Like something has woken up inside of me. They will come back. They will absolutely come back to you. Mona talked about seeing a trainer at one of the local gyms, and the woman putting her through 25 different exercises, and she couldn't walk for a whole week after that. That's not what we do. That's not training.
Yeah, and that's so funny. Like when you think about that, the volume and the number of exercises, and a lot of times trainers or even group fitness classes, right? Like people have this notion that, a group fitness class would be more entry level or
Right.
easier for a novice than barbell training. And that's absolutely not true, because I mean, you and I both know we taught some variation of group power, body pump, whatever,
Yes.
tons and tons of reps. And that sort of volume leaves a person who's not accustomed to that very sore afterwards. So this notion that barbells are going to make somebody I don't know, sore, uncomfortable, where they hurt themselves, not always the reality when you line it up against what happens with something that's perceived as being like a quote unquote safer option.
And that's a very hard nut to crack, right? I mean, Mona had in her head of, the last time I did something, I couldn't walk for a week. What are you going to do with me? Right. I had a client who just started with me recently, and she's loving this. She's absolutely loving this. She's in her late 60s. And she thanks me every time. After every session, she goes, I don't know why I'm thanking you again, but thank you. This is wonderful. And first time she came, right, we did 2 exercises, because she wasn't able to do any squatting because of a foot issue that she was having. And she asked a lot of good questions, and I answered her questions, and we went through everything and broke things down. And she was all smiles. When she left, she was all smiles. And she said, I didn't feel like I worked or did it too much, did anything when I left. She goes, and then 2 days later, I was like, oh, I feel things. And she said she felt things. She wasn't sore. She was just like, her body kind of was like, you did something. You actually did do something, even though she didn't feel like she had done much that first day with me, because I'm not trying to kill you on your first day. The first day is an introduction to the lifts, right? The work that we do. The first time she squatted with me, I had her squat to a box because again, she was coming off of seeing a foot doctor who told her to, not do any squatting for a couple weeks. I'm very, I'm not going to push somebody to do that, even though I might think that they could do it. I'm going to listen to them and listen to what, the doctors told them. And then after a couple sessions, I said, let's try a couple box squats. And we squatted and she felt great. And so then the next time we squatted, we added a dumbbell and she felt great. And guess what we did today? Added the bar and she did great. So it was like we progressively kind of worked her towards that. I didn't do it on day one. I did it on day 6, when she had already kind of gotten into the program, knew what to expect, was looking forward to her sessions. I even told her the next time you come in, we're going to work with the bar. We did. So it's like, you have to make sure that the person who, when they come to you, understands what they're going to be doing with you. And that's very hard to get across to somebody who doesn't quite even know the who, what, when, where, why of strength training. And I think it takes a good coach who's worked with, a number of different individuals of all ages, especially of a mature age. I'm going to use the word mature, a mature age to understand the kind of the mentality that's there. I don't want to hurt myself. I understand that. And we don't want to hurt you. So here's what we need to do. We need to at least try something. We need to do something. And I feel like videos of people or articles, anecdotes are good, but no, anecdotes are good. I just got to be kind of mindful about what the story is, like what the anecdote is, and use it in just the right way to kind of catch that person. Everything you can do to kind of show somebody this is what you can expect. I almost feel like I need to maybe on day one, like do a video of like a day one with somebody so that people can see this is all we did. This person is this age. They've done this before, or they've never done this before. And this is what we did on their first day. And you go, oh, wow, that doesn't look like too much. And that person looks like me. Okay, I think I can try it. And that's kind of the key. It's like people who look like you. You see people who are like, that person kind of looks like me, or I think I can do what that person can do. Of course, you're going to be hesitant. Of course, you're going to be skeptical. But it is that kind of, how do you get someone to that point where they do make that next step of, okay, I'll try it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this conversation that I was talking about before that I had with the client's son about the mother, she was not even at the point yet where she would have wanted to step into a gym.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think when you're working with somebody like that, a family member, when you're trying to talk to someone and they're at that stage, you're talking about, as a coach, meeting someone where they are. That's the same thing you have to do at home with that person in conversation. So as you're watching them move through the house, point out maybe how, oh, look, you're sitting in that chair, right? Like, that's just like a squat. Here's how you would do it. And so like, getting somebody, not even squat to a box, but like, hey, from your kitchen chair, let me show you how this would work. Something that's like familiar like that, deadlifting, like, at home, if you've got 2 shopping bags and somebody's picking them up on either side.
A laundry basket.
Same deal as deadlifting. Wouldn't it be so much easier if you were stronger and trained to do that, so that you didn't, tweak your back when you're picking up the laundry, or you putting something up on a tall shelf. The times at home, in a home setting, where you can sort of point out how similar all the exercises that we do with barbells are to your everyday normal human movement. That's I think a good place to start, to get them to be like, okay, yeah, I can see where that, okay, maybe I could do this and train it in a way that, allows them to sort of mentally get to the place where they show up to the gym and where they agree, okay, session 6, I'll put the bar on my back, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is a very tricky subject to broach with some people. I mean, I have clients who, they've come to me, and I actually was just speaking to one of my online clients. I asked her, I said, how did you come to me? I mean, I said, I know that you spoke with a young man that I had worked with. he and I had worked one-on-one, and she got my name from him. She had already done her own reading and had decided that she needed to be stronger, right? She'd had breast cancer. She'd gone through chemotherapy. She was very weak from that. She just turned 71, I think, or 72. So this was in her 60s. And she didn't feel good. And strength training, she knew, would be a good way to make her feel better and make her stronger. And then she happened to get my name from her friend's son. But she'd already come to that on her own. Not every 60, 68-year-old or 69-year-old is going to come to that on their own, right? Many of my clients came because of their adult children, who encouraged them to do it. Not both parents. And it's very rare when it's both parents, like Manny and his wife do this together. It's wonderful, the fact that they come together. I have other couples who come and train together, younger clients. But my older clients, it's either the husband or it's the wife, right? It's one or the other. And they want to get their spouse in there, but they also kind of like being there by themselves without worrying about it's kind of like I want my wife to come, but I don't want my wife to come. I want my husband to come, but I really don't. I mean, my mom trains, my dad does his stuff at home in his gym, Jim's gym, which is the garage. He's done stuff his whole life. So for him to come to me, would I love my father to train with me? Of course I would. But I know that he has his own thinking, and he does, do his workouts when he can. But my mom, man, the difference that she's made. And I think it made all the difference that I was the one who was going to, work with her. She could have definitely had said no way, but she tried it. She liked it. She stuck with it. If you can get somebody in the door to even just meet with a coach, that's a huge step, right? I mean, that is more than huge, because that's the hardest part, is actually just kind of getting them. Once they're there, I think they'll try it. I usually I have very few people who come in, talk to me, and then decide they don't want to do it. It's the opposite. They want to do it. They want to give it a try, but they have to get in the door and see the place, meet the coach, see other people lifting maybe, and then figure out like, okay, let me just give it a shot. Let me just try one time. Let me just see what happens once. And if you really are good at what you do, like Rebecca and I are, sorry, had to say that, they stay with you because they trust you. And you have to make sure that you find somebody who the person can trust. So if you're an adult child looking for, something for your parents, someone that right? Someone that you trust, because then they'll trust them. That's very big too. That's very big. That's a huge part of it, because you do want that person to stick with it. And you don't want them to have a experience where it doesn't work out for them because the person wasn't the right fit for them. So, but getting them in the door just to kind of meet with somebody, that's number one. That's step number one. If you can get to that step, they're pretty much sold. But how do you sell them on getting to that gym, getting to that coach? I think that was the question I was asking in the interview with Mona. How do you reach those people who would benefit from this, but they say to you, it's not for me. It may be for you, but it's not for me. You have to kind of dig a little deeper. It's like, what is it? What exactly is it that is not for you? If you can get into their head, that might pull out more of like,
and that I think is the key. It's not likely to be something that happens in one conversation.
Absolutely.
And it is likely to be something where you do have to dig a little deeper and find out what motivates a person and what scares a person. What is it that they would potentially, be invested enough in that they would want to be stronger in order to be able to do? And what is it that's standing in their way?
Right. Exactly. And that takes the person, I mean, that's either going to be the person's going to do their own reading and maybe talk to people or look stuff up on the internet or read articles. And if you are trying to get someone to, if you're trying to get a parent or even your, a spouse or something to try. And it's much easier, I think, to get a parent to do something than your spouse. It might take some time.
I don't know, Emily.
Do you think it's the same?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I know that it took almost
I think it depends on the person.
yeah, it took about 2.5, 3 years for one of my online clients to get his wife to start doing this. And now that she's into it. But it took him a long time. It took us. I should say it took us, because I gave him articles, I gave him videos. I mean, he pushed to a point, but he didn't push so hard that she was just like, stop it, I'm not doing this ever. When she finally tried it and she gave it, that's it. She's in now. She's in it. She's in it. She's not going to stop. She feels great. Her hip feels wonderful. She had a hip replacement. Her hip feels wonderful. All that pain that she's experiencing, and she kept going back and forth to the PTs and the doctors, went away.
Nice.
So, it's like you wish you could just kind of snap your finger and the person would say, fine with me, I'll try tomorrow. But it takes a little bit more than that. And you have to broach it very slowly, right? You have to kind of like,
well, you have to read the person, right?
Yes.
You have to be able to read the person, because sometimes there's some people where if you push something too hard, they're just going to shut down and automatically reject whatever it is that you're suggesting, because they feel like they're being pressured. They don't want you to sell them on something. They need to feel like it was their own idea. So if you've got a good read on the person, and it still might take a long time. So like the husband and wife that you're talking about, 2 or 3 year project to accomplish the goal of getting the wife into the gym. And that's where it's like, if you're willing to invest that time, if it matters enough to you and you keep at it, then you might get the result that you want, getting the person in the gym. The easier answer, the faster answer, the one that you see when you're reading the posts and the comments is, it's not going to happen.
Right.
You won't be able to get them in the gym.
Right.
They'll never agree.
Right.
That's the easy answer. But you got to understand it's most likely going to take time. And if you're invested in it, if you care enough to invest a couple years of gentle nudging,
yes.
then maybe you get there.
Yes. If you are stubborn enough to stick with it, like I'm stubborn, I don't give up on shit that easily.
You're kidding.
No. And quick side story. I was trying to get new internet access, new internet for the business. And I wanted to do T-Mobile. I tried going online on Sunday, trying to buy the whole thing. Couldn't get through. It wouldn't do the credit check. It kept saying error. Okay, fine. Website's kind of bum. Monday, I chat with somebody. Can I have somebody give me a call? I want to do this. I can't check out because I finally got through everything. Someone called me, but they called Diego's phone number, not my phone number, even though I gave them my phone number. I'm like, how the hell did Big Brother get his phone number when it was the phone number that anyway, he left a message with him. I called the guy back, left a message, nothing. Chat with somebody else. Someone's going to give you a call. Okay, no one did. Tuesday comes around. Chat with somebody again. Someone will give you a call in a couple hours. 5 hours goes by. No one's called me. I'm still trying to get this goddamn internet. Finally, I get online again. I buy it. It goes through. I pay it. So finally, then I call to confirm that it's actually gone through. And the guy's like, yep, it went through. I was like, look, so it'll be delivered in a couple days. Oh, you don't need anybody to hook it up. You just hook it up yourself. 2 days. I should say 3 days it took me to get this done. No one would call me back. I stuck with it. That's how badly I wanted this. I'm like, I'm trying to give you money and no one's getting back to me. I could have gone to another carrier. I refused because I know that they're good. So I stuck with it. I will not give up until I have really had the last bit is there. So if you're stubborn enough like I am, you will keep kind of at it, keep slipping articles here and there. You can't go through one day without an article coming up on some newspaper, magazine, online thing about strength training and the importance of strength training, not just in general, but for women and for women of menopausal age, which Rebecca and I are. So you're like bombarded with that, right? Women need to strength train. Women need to strength train. You're losing estrogen. You need to strength train. Strength training does not have to include a barbell. And I think that is a big thing that we have to get through to people too, right? Although we may use a barbell and we are barbell coaches. Not all my clients use a bar. I have clients who work out at home and they have dumbbells. So I make do with what they have, but I add more reps. We try to add more weight. We try to do more sets, whatever it is to kind of keep their progression going. The fact is they're doing something and they're doing something good for their body 2 to 3 days a week. So I think we have to kind of get that through people too. Those of you who want your parents or what your aunt, your uncle, to do a barbell program, maybe they don't start with that. Maybe they have to start with something else. And then they ease into that. They realize, oh, I really like this, but I'm only getting so far with the dumbbells I have. And like Mona did, we got her a bar. Now she has a bar with bumpers. We have to get more weight for her because she's getting stronger and she's running out of, weights. So, you kind of move along slowly, but what you don't do is give up too soon. I think you have to try to push a little bit. And then eventually, if the person really, really just puts their foot down and is like, I'm not doing this, you say, okay. And then who knows, a year later, 6 months later, they come to you. What were you talking about? You're talking about strength training? Because my doctor said, or my cousin said, or I was talking to Sophie next door and she, right? And all of a sudden now you have the information. Now they want to talk to you. They want to get involved with some type of training program because so-and-so said it was good for me. Or as you said in the beginning, I got a diagnosis of osteoporosis. What do I do? I've heard that strength training is a good way to help reverse that, right? It's like somebody who's been eating Big Macs their whole life. And then all of a sudden they have, too much saturated fat in their body. They wait until that to decide, I better, actually clean up my diet and do something because now I'm at a place where my numbers are here. You don't necessarily want to get to that place. You don't want to get to the stage where I have osteoporosis if you can avoid it. But what you can do when you do get to that stage, if that happens, you can do something about it. There's something you can do about it. It's not a be all end all of your life. So, it's kind of there's so many different branches, I'd say, with this subject, right? That kind of shoot out in so many different directions, and you're kind of trying to pull your way through, and the person's just they're there, but they don't know how to step forward and give it a try because they've got too much stuff in their way. And eventually, the path is cleared and you walk through it. And I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just talking about.
Well, I mean, like you're kind of describing,
branches.
yeah, like a person having an aha moment, right?
Yes. Yes.
Something suddenly clicking for a person.
Yes.
If you want a person to try and get to that point where they have that aha moment, you might not be the one that is the deliverer of that message, but if you have been a consistent voice advocating for strength training, then you're going to be a person that they can turn to as a resource when that moment happens for them.
Exactly. And I've heard of that.
And so, yeah, it's just a matter of being persistent, figuring out a way to make it relevant to them, being willing to invest the time and the effort to dig deep and have some maybe more in-depth conversations. It's, I mean, highly unlikely that you're just going to be like, hey, you should go lift. And they're like, yeah, excellent. Take me to the gym and I'll do exactly what you do. Like that is never going to happen. Right. So in that sense, yeah, those comments are right. If that's what you're envisioning, that's not going to happen. So you also have to be flexible in how you are envisioning the person that you're concerned about doing strength training, what form that strength training takes, right? Like a lot of us have drunk the Kool-Aid and, we're only doing 3 sets of 5. And right. Oh no, if you do Medi's 5x5, that's blasphemy, like whatever, like all these little minor details. Like the important thing is just like, if somebody is doing some resistance training that is progressively overloaded and they're working on those basic human movements and they're doing those big 4 type type lifts or something resembling them, then they're going to be building muscle mass and bone density and being healthier and more independent and more capable. And that's really the ultimate goal. So
Yes.
kind of keeping that bigger goal in mind as opposed to the vehicle
Yes.
by which you get to that goal.
Yes. Yes. And if you're, if the person decides, okay, yes, I want to give it a try, and they go to the gym and they find a trainer, a coach that they really like, and that person puts a dumbbell in their hands and has them doing goblet squats and dumbbell bench, great.
Go with it.
Go with it. Don't freak out. Oh, you're not doing a barbell program. I don't freaking
Yeah.
care.
Well,
That's
I
not
mean,
that's not the reason you want them to do a program. You want them to do a program because it's going to be beneficial to them. And if they like that person and they stick with that program, they will make progress no matter how stupid the exercise might be or how as Diego says, consistency is the key.
Yeah.
Consistency, and they will make progress. They will get stronger. They will increase their bone density. I mean, and and then they decide that they want to try barbell training. Maybe after a while, even the trainer says, you know what, you're getting stronger. I think we need to move away from the dumbbells and move into a barbell.
And sometimes the dumbbells you move away from them automatically because at a certain weight, it's difficult to hold certain weight dumbbells, and it's much more, it's much easier ergonomically to hold a barbell.
My online client who I was just working with, she's got dumbbells, and we work usually like twice a week at home, and then we work on Saturdays. She'll come up to the gym, and it's a drive for her. She's in Virginia, and we do our training up there. She had the best session this past Saturday at the gym, squatting, pressing, and deadlifting, and it all has to do with the work she's been doing at home with just dumbbells. That's all we have, right? Dumbbells and bands. She's got power blocks. So we do suitcase deadlifts, right? I said to her, can you hold that power block like in your hands, like you would like a dumbbell for like goblet squats? And she can. So now I just found another way. She doesn't have to buy any more equipment. She just uses the power block, and she can make 15 pounds. She can go to 20. She can go to 25. I mean, so you get creative. And you use what the person has, and you also go by how they're just what's going on that day with them. Sometimes they might be a little bit off, but sometimes they might be on. You push them there. But overall, if you're doing something 2 to 3 days a week, you're rocking and rolling. You're going to be great. You're going to be great. Whether it stays a dumbbell program or it turns into more than that, as you said, it might just morph right into a barbell because you realize there has to be more overload. But it shouldn't be that shouldn't be the make it or break it kind of thing. And whether or not the person does a program.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a while back, I wrote that article about the reluctant female, right?
Yes.
So sometimes, guys grow up a lot of times in our culture with this idea of going to the gym and lifting weights. And that's not something that is necessarily part of what a lot of girls experience, these days, especially if they're on a sports team, that is more and more part of what they're experiencing. But sometimes it just takes a little while to, become familiar with the gym, become familiar with the different modalities, just try a bunch of stuff. And then maybe you slide on over to a starting strength type program.
And I think that a lot of women, will do really well with a female coach. I mean, many do well with either coach, male or female, but there are many women who, even the husbands or the, let's say it's a husband and wife. I'd really like her to work with a female because I think that, knowing the person, knowing the personality, some women they don't care. Others, it makes a difference. We've had a number of husbands, boyfriends who've come up to do our camps and brought their wife, girlfriend, fiance, whatever, and they're reluctant. They come, they work with me, and the next thing you know, I need a bumper, I need bumpers, I need a bar, I need little plates, and they're like, how'd you do that? I'm like, just worked with her, just showed her she could do it. And whether or not that came from me or Diego, I mean, because they always work with either one of us, we switch out. It was, she realized she could do it. You got her there, and we were able to communicate to her that you can do this. And in fact, you're good at it. right? And you could be a lot stronger, because of just the fact that you're coachable and willing now. And next thing you know, there's a list of equipment that the person needs. It happened.
Careful what you wish for.
The husband was like, how'd you do that? I'm like, I don't know. She's good. She can do it. She needed that encouragement. And it's very hard. It's very hard to teach your child how to drive. You don't do that. You send them to driver's ed. You don't coach your spouse. That's very difficult, but you can send your spouse somewhere and you can encourage that person to go somewhere, right? And not all coaches and clients, will get along. So you have to, there is that. You might start out with somebody and it's just not the right fit. So you try somebody else. But I think looking for somebody, listening to the person's needs. If they say, I don't want to do a barbell program, but I'm open to doing dumbbells. Great. And if you're a good coach, you'll say, great. I'm glad you're here. What do you want to work on? What can I do for you? What do you have? What do what don't you have? Are you willing to do you want to come in? Do you want to work online? I mean, that's what you do as a coach, right? You meet the person where they are and you slowly build that trust. And next thing you know, they're, competing in a powerlifting meet and breaking world records. So we could go on and on and on and talk about this, but we need to end here. So good. That helps me out a lot, actually, in trying to figure out, even what to say to this young man, if he continues to maybe talk to his mom about wanting to do stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And other people. But I don't think you just dismiss somebody off the bat right away. I think that's just
no.
inconsiderate. It's inconsiderate. And it's sending the wrong message that they're not even worth your time to talk to you about. So we're going to wrap up there with our talk about, getting people started with training. And if you've got a story that you want to share with us about how that was hard for you or somebody in your life who you wanted to get started on strength training and they were reluctant, but then they kind of came around, we'd love to hear your story because we'd like to share it. The more people hear about this, the better. If you have any questions, you want to reach out to Rebecca or I, please email me at emily@5by3.com. Or you can email Rebecca at
cornerstonestrengthmaryland@gmail.com.
Thank you for spending some time with us today, guys. And we'll see you probably after the holidays, I'm thinking. I think December might be a little bit busy for Rebecca and I to get together. So this might be our last podcast until 2025. So we will say, have a great Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. And we'll see you in 2025. Thanks, everybody. Have a great, great holiday season. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, Rebecca.
See ya. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to 5by3 Radio with Emily and Rebecca. If you like our show and want to know more about 5by3 training, please visit us at www.5, that's F-I-V-E, the letter X, the number 3.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. To learn more about Rebecca, please visit her website, cornerstonestrengthmaryland.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.